Young Miami just released a song sampling Diddy walking through a hotel hallway in red leather, and I cannot be convinced this isn't a direct mockery of Cassie Ventura, the woman who was dragged down a hotel hallway by that same man, caught on surveillance footage that the entire world has now seen. And here comes Caresha, sashaying through corridors like it's a victory lap, dropping a track called Victory Lap that samples his 1998 song Victory. You don't do that by accident. You don't choose that setting, that sample, that title, and that timing without knowing exactly what visual you're invoking. And the caption she posted with it, "This is what I wanted, you in first place Victory Lap." Who's you? Because it sure sounds like she's talking to Diddy, positioning herself as the woman who stayed loyal while everyone else abandoned ship. And now she's collecting her prize. Before I get deeper into this real quick, if you're enjoying this breakdown, hit that subscribe button and join us at Metro Society. We're digging into the stories that actually matter, and you don't want to miss what's coming. All right, let's get back into it. So here's what makes this entire situation genuinely disturbing beyond just the tastelessness of the imagery. Young Miami sampling Diddy's music means Diddy gets paid every stream, every radio play, every licensing fee. A portion of that money goes directly into the pocket of a man currently sitting in federal custody, facing charges that include sex trafficking and racketeering, with additional civil lawsuits accusing him of abuse involving minors. And Young Miami knows this. She's not confused about how music royalties work. She's been in the industry long enough to understand that sampling isn't just an artistic choice. It's a business transaction. She is actively funneling money to Sean Combs while his alleged victims are still fighting for justice in courtrooms where I sat and watched grown men weep describing what they endured. That's not an exaggeration. I was in that courtroom. I sat near Janice Combs and Diddy's sons, watching family members break down as testimony detailed the PTSD, the years of trauma, the lives shattered. And then you step outside that building and see Young Miami giving character statements to support this man's release, giving interviews where she deflects and downplays, and now releasing music that literally puts cash in his commissary account. The disconnect is so severe, it feels like we're living in two different realities. One where evidence is mounting and victims are speaking, and another where Caresha is treating this like a loyalty competition she's winning. The character statement alone should have ended her career. When Cassie Ventura put out her statement saying, "Don't let this man out of jail," Young Miami responded by doing the exact opposite, publicly supporting Diddy's release, essentially telling the court that this man deserves to walk free. That wasn't just staying neutral, that was picking a side. And she picked the side of an alleged abuser over the women who say he destroyed their lives. She made that choice deliberately, and now she's doubling down by sampling his catalog and building her solo career on his legacy, while he sits behind bars. What really gets me is the pattern with Young Miami and other women. She reportedly told other Diddy associates that she could get him to make them get on their knees. Let that sink in. This is a woman who allegedly used her position with a powerful man to threaten and humiliate other women, positioning herself as the gatekeeper to his favor. So when I see her in that hotel hallway, I'm not seeing an artistic choice. I'm seeing the same person who mocked other women for not being in her position, now literally walking through the same type of setting where one of Diddy's most famous victims was brutalized and calling it a victory. That's not a reach, that's pattern recognition. And the song itself, let's talk about Spin That for a second, because I can be objective. It's catchy, I'll give her that. The production works, the hook sticks in your head, and I understand why it's charting. But there's a difference between having one viral moment and building a sustainable career. And Young Miami has never demonstrated she understands that difference. She's thirsty in a way that's almost uncomfortable to watch. Desperate for relevance, desperate for a hit, desperate to stay connected to Diddy's fading empire, because without him, what does she actually have? JT carried that group lyrically, and anyone who's been paying attention knows it. Caresha's solo work before Spin That was forgettable at best. And the only reason this new track is gaining traction is because of the controversy, not the bars. The plan here is so transparent. Get one hit on your own to prove you can chart, then immediately pivot to sampling Diddy on the follow-up single, banking on the notoriety and the built-in audience that still follows everything connected to his name. If this song takes off the way Spin That did, she's established a pipeline. Diddy's catalog becomes her sample library, his publishing becomes her revenue stream, and by the time he potentially gets out of custody, she's positioned herself as the bridge between his legacy and the current industry. She'll be the one sitting down with him for the exclusive comeback interview. She'll be the one on stage with him when he makes his first public appearance. She'll be the one who can say, "I held him down," and expect some kind of reward for that loyalty. But loyalty to what? To a man accused of running a criminal enterprise built on exploitation? To someone facing lawsuits that include allegations involving minors? What exactly is she being loyal to? And what does she think that loyalty is going to get her? Because if history is any indication, Diddy discards people the moment they stop being useful. The list of artists, collaborators, and partners who thought they were special to him and ended up discarded or worse is not short. Young Miami isn't special. She's convenient right now because she's willing to do what most people with sense won't: publicly associate with him, use his music, keep his name in circulation in a context that isn't entirely criminal proceedings. The BET Awards outfit was the visual representation of where her head is at. She looked like she was waiting for instructions, posing like she was at a casting call for one of those parties that's been described in horrifying detail in court documents. The styling was chaotic, the energy was off, and it read like someone who spent so long orbiting Diddy's world that she's lost any sense of what appropriate even looks like anymore. When you've been in that ecosystem, your normal meter breaks. You start thinking hotel hallway music videos are a flex rather than a dog whistle. You think sampling the man everyone else is distancing themselves from is a power move rather than career suicide. The industry's response to this has been telling. Where's the criticism? Where are the journalists asking her directly about the Cassie imagery, about the sample royalties, about the character statement? This is what happens when celebrity access journalism replaces actual accountability. People like Young Miami get to float through press cycles, doing game shows and lifestyle content while never having to answer a single hard question about their choices. Santana asked her some things, sure, but nobody's cornering her the way they would if the roles were reversed and a male artist was doing something this inflammatory. She's been given a pass that's genuinely baffling, and it speaks to how little we actually expect from female artists in terms of moral consistency. Here's what I think is coming next. Spin That will run its course by fall. These viral hits have a shelf life, and by November, the general public will have moved on to the next thing. But Young Miami has already telegraphed her next move by sampling Diddy now. She's trying to build a bridge between her momentary success and his enduring catalog, hoping the combination creates enough momentum to carry her past the point where anyone remembers how she got there. And if Diddy does eventually get out, she'll be right there, ready to do the joint interview, ready to be the public face of his redemption arc, ready to collect whatever she thinks she's earned by standing by him while everyone else walked away. The tragedy in all of this is that the victims are watching. Cassie is watching. The other women and men who've come forward are watching someone sample their alleged abuser's music for a summer hit, walking through hallways that evoke the worst moment of some of their lives, calling it a victory lap. Dawn Richard, who's been vocal about her experiences, is watching. The minor victims whose lawsuits are still pending are watching, and Young Miami doesn't seem to care. Or worse, she seems to think their pain is just collateral damage in her come-up story. I don't understand how you sit with yourself knowing that your success is literally being funded by royalties flowing to someone accused of the things Diddy is accused of. I don't understand how you mock women who've been through what Cassie went through when you allegedly bragged about being able to make other women submit to this same man. I don't understand the moral calculus that lets you give character statements supporting release while victims are begging the court to keep him detained. And I really don't understand how the culture is celebrating her right now. Like any of this is normal, she won't have a long-term career doing this. The Diddy Association is toxic in ways that will outlast any temporary chart success. And when the dust settles, she'll be remembered as the woman who hitched her wagon to a falling star and went down with it. The blind loyalty, the lack of substance, the willingness to degrade other women for proximity to power, none of that ages well. And in 5 years, when the documentaries are made and the full scope of everything is public knowledge, Young Miami's name is going to be in the section about enablers, not in the section about artists who made it on their own merit. She's made her choice. She's lying in that bed, as far as I'm concerned. But the rest of us don't have to pretend it's not happening, and we don't have to stream the music, and we don't have to act like sampling an alleged abuser's catalog is just normal industry behavior. It's not. It's calculated, it's cruel, and it tells you everything you need to know about who Young Miami actually is when the cameras are rolling and the checks are clearing. Let me take this a step further, because I think there's a broader conversation here about what accountability actually looks like in the music industry and why people like Young Miami keep getting away with behavior that would end anyone else's career overnight. We've watched over the past year as artist after artist, executive after executive, collaborator after collaborator has quietly distanced themselves from Diddy. Some have scrubbed their social media. Some have issued carefully worded statements that say nothing while pretending to say something. Some have simply stopped mentioning his name entirely, hoping that if they don't acknowledge the situation, the public will forget they were ever associated with him in the first place. And then you have Young Miami running in the complete opposite direction, sprinting toward the fire instead of away from it, and somehow being celebrated for it. What does that say about our standards? What does it say that a woman can allegedly facilitate abuse, can mock victims through her artistic choices, can literally put money in an alleged abuser's pocket and still get booked for performances, still get played on the radio, still get invited to red carpets and award shows? The answer is uncomfortable, but it needs to be said. We don't actually care about accountability if the person avoiding it is entertaining enough. We've created a culture where controversy is currency, where being messy is marketable, and where the only unforgivable sin is being boring. Young Miami understands this completely. She knows that as long as she keeps people talking, as long as she keeps generating headlines, as long as she keeps the streams coming, nobody is going to actually hold her feet to the fire. They're going to book her for the interview, play her song in the club, and move on to the next thing. And the music industry is complicit in this. Let's be clear about that. Her label could stop this, the streaming platforms could stop this, the radio stations could stop this, the award shows could stop this. Every single gatekeeper along the chain has the power to say, we're not going to platform someone who is actively supporting an alleged sex trafficker and mocking his victims. But they won't, because she's making them money. Because controversy drives engagement. Because the algorithm doesn't care about ethics, and neither do the executives whose bonuses depend on quarterly streaming numbers. Young Miami is a product that's selling right now, and as long as she's selling, the machine will keep promoting her regardless of what she does or says or samples. This is the same industry that postured so hard during Me Too, that put out those black squares on Instagram that promised to do better and be better and protect women. Where is all that energy now? Where are the open letters? Where are the pledges to donate legal fees to survivors? Where are the panels and the think pieces and the solemn promises to believe women? They evaporated the moment it became inconvenient, the moment it required actually sacrificing something. A revenue stream, a hit record, a viral moment. The hypocrisy is staggering, and Young Miami is just the most visible example of it. She's not the architect of this broken system. She's just the person who's figured out how to exploit it more shamelessly than anyone else. And let's talk about the fans, because they're not off the hook either. Every person who streams Victory Lap is making a choice. Every person who adds it to their playlist, who shares it on their story, who dances to it on TikTok, they're making a choice. They're choosing to ignore what that sample represents because the beat is hard and the hook is catchy. They're choosing to look past the hotel hallway imagery because they don't want to think about what it's referencing. They're choosing to separate the art from the artist in a situation where the art itself is the problem, where the very act of creating it is an act of cruelty toward people who have already suffered enough. I get that it's exhausting to care about everything. I get that we're all tired, that the news cycle is relentless, that sometimes you just want to listen to a song without doing a moral inventory of everyone involved in its creation. But that's exactly what people like Young Miami are counting on. They're counting on your exhaustion. They're counting on your desire to just vibe and not think too hard about it. They're counting on the fact that most people will see the controversy, maybe feel a twinge of discomfort, and then hit play anyway because the song is trending and they don't want to be left out of the conversation. That's the calculation, and it works almost every time. There's something particularly insidious about the way she's framing this as a victory lap. Think about the language. A victory lap is what you do after you've won. It's a celebration of triumph, a moment of basking in your success while everyone watches. So what exactly has Young Miami won? What battle has she emerged from victorious? The implication is clear. She won the competition for Diddy's favor. She outlasted the other women. She proved her loyalty while others, like Cassie, became liabilities. In her mind, Cassie filing a lawsuit, Cassie speaking her truth, Cassie's surveillance footage becoming public, those aren't acts of courage. Those are acts of betrayal, and Young Miami is the loyal soldier being rewarded for not betraying the king. That's the worldview she's broadcasting with every frame of that video, every note of that sample, every word of that caption. It's a medieval mindset in a modern context, this idea that loyalty to a powerful man supersedes basic human decency. It's the logic of the consigliere, the trusted advisor who knows where the bodies are buried and has decided that keeping those secrets is more valuable than telling the truth. And historically, how does that end for people in that position? It ends with them becoming liabilities themselves. It ends with them being discarded when they're no longer useful. It ends with them facing consequences they never saw coming because they were too busy feeling special to realize they were just another tool being used. I want to pause here and address something I've seen in the comments on other videos about this topic. There's a contingent of people who defend Young Miami by saying she's a victim too, that she was manipulated, that we shouldn't judge women for the choices they make in proximity to powerful men. And I want to take that argument seriously because I think it's important to engage with it honestly rather than just dismissing it. Yes, power dynamics in the music industry are real and exploitative. Yes, young women entering that world are often groomed and manipulated and put in impossible positions. Yes, we should have grace for people who make bad choices under pressure, but there's a line. There's a line between being a victim and becoming an active participant in the victimization of others. There's a line between making choices to survive and making choices to profit. Young Miami is not just passively existing in Diddy's orbit. She is actively, publicly, and profitably aligning herself with him at a time when the evidence of his alleged crimes is overwhelming. She's not doing this quietly. She's not doing this behind closed doors while privately supporting survivors. She's doing it on main with a music video and a sample clearance and a press strategy. That's not survival, that's strategy. The Cassie of it all is what makes this particularly unforgivable. Cassie Ventura's hotel hallway video is one of the most disturbing pieces of evidence to ever become public in a celebrity abuse case. Watching that footage, watching her try to leave, watching him drag her back, watching her freeze and dissociate while it's happening, that changed something in the public consciousness. It made abstract allegations viscerally real in a way that court documents never could. And for Young Miami to look at that footage, to know that the entire world has seen it, to understand what it represents, and then to deliberately recreate that setting as the backdrop for her victory is beyond tasteless. It's targeted, it's personal, it's a message. What is the message? The message is, I'm still here and you're not. The message is, I played the game better than you. The message is, your trauma is my aesthetic. That's the part that makes my stomach turn. She's not just ignoring Cassie's pain, she's aestheticizing it. She's turning the location of Cassie's assault into a fashion moment, a serve, a sleigh. The red leather outfit, the confident stride, the knowing smirk, every element of that video is designed to say, I'm thriving in the space where you were broken. It's monstrous behavior, dressed up as a music video, and the fact that it's working, that people are eating it up, that the discourse is more about whether the song is a bop than whether the imagery is cruel. That's a cultural failure of massive proportions. We need to talk about what it means to be a woman supporting other women, because that phrase gets thrown around a lot in this industry and it's almost always hollow. Young Miami has positioned herself as a girl's girl, as someone who uplifts other women, as part of a duo that represented female empowerment in hip hop. But where is that energy when it comes to Cassie? Where is that energy when it comes to the other women who've come forward? You can't claim to support women while simultaneously mocking one of the most visible survivors of alleged abuse in recent memory. You can't claim sisterhood while allegedly telling other women to get on their knees for your man. The math doesn't math. And at some point we have to stop pretending it does, just because the person doing it is charismatic and makes catchy music. I've been thinking a lot about what the end game is here, not just for Young Miami, but for the broader culture that's enabling her. We're in this strange moment where accountability has become simultaneously more visible and less meaningful. Everyone can see the evidence, everyone can read the lawsuits, everyone can watch the surveillance footage, but seeing and doing something about what you've seen are two completely different things. We've become a culture of spectators to our own moral decay, watching it happen in real time, commenting on it, making content about it, and then moving on without actually changing anything. Young Miami's career right now is a test case for whether accountability means anything at all in the music industry. If she can sample Diddy, mock Cassie, support an alleged abuser, and still come out the other side with a successful solo career, then what's the point of any of it? What's the point of survivors coming forward if the people who mocked them get to keep thriving? What's the point of hashtags and awareness campaigns if the algorithm rewards cruelty more than it rewards integrity? What's the point of saying, believe victims, if we're going to stream the songs of people who clearly don't? I don't have easy answers to those questions. I wish I did. What I have is a platform and a willingness to say what a lot of people are thinking but won't say publicly because they don't want the smoke. Young Miami's Victory Lap is not just a song. It's a statement of values. It's a declaration that loyalty to powerful men matters more than solidarity with victims. It's a bet that the culture has a short memory and even shorter attention span. And the scariest part is that she might be right. She might be absolutely right. The song might blow up. The controversy might fade. In 6 months, people might not even remember why they were mad, just that the song was on their summer playlist. But I'll remember, and Cassie will remember, and every victim who's watching this play out will remember that when the chips were down, the culture chose the bop over the survivors. That's the real victory lap here. Not Young Miami's, but the culture's victory lap over its own stated principles. We said we cared, we said we would do better, and then the beat dropped and we forgot everything we promised. That's the ugly truth underneath all of this, and no amount of red leather and catchy hooks can cover it up forever. Eventually, the music stops, and what's left is just the choices we made and the people we hurt making them. Young Miami is going to have to live with that, and so are the rest of us.